Ever wondered what happens when the tech giant that changed the world with the iPhone decides to shrink its next big revolution down to the size of a tiny ring? Or why your current HomePod Mini feels like it needs a serious brain transplant every time you ask it a simple follow-up question? Behind the closed doors of Apple headquarters, a massive shift is happening right now, and it is about to change how you live, how you secure your data, and how you talk to your home forever. We are looking at a future where technology completely disappears into our daily lives, sitting quietly on your finger or blending effortlessly into your living room mesh sphere. This is not just about a couple of new gadgets. This is about Apple completely rewriting the rules of the tech game. Let us dive straight into the area where the rumored Apple Ring could become completely revolutionary. Right now, personal security and digital authentication feel like a constant chore. Everyday users rely heavily on passwords, Face ID, Touch ID, and those annoying text verification codes just to keep their private data safe. In the near future, an Apple Ring could completely change the game by acting as a secure, continuous digital key. Imagine the sheer convenience of simply walking near your MacBook and watching the computer automatically and securely unlock without you touching a single thing. Apple Pay transactions might be approved instantly through specific secure hand gestures in midair. Even your smart home could recognize you the exact moment you walk through the front door, immediately adjusting the lighting, the temperature, and your favorite music settings based entirely on your specific preferences. The rapid rise of augmented reality and mixed reality technology also makes the Apple Ring increasingly important for Apple's long-term future. Apple's Vision Pro headset introduced an entirely new way of interacting with digital content using just your eyes and your hands. However, future generations of spatial computing devices are going to require even more precise and subtle input methods than what we have today. A smart ring equipped with advanced motion sensors and gesture recognition capabilities could easily become the perfect companion device for navigating these virtual environments. Instead of waving your entire arms around or using traditional clumsy plastic controllers, you could navigate complex menus, manipulate digital objects, and interact with apps using tiny, subtle movements of your finger. Of course, battery technology is the critical factor that could finally make this Apple Ring a reality. One of the single biggest engineering challenges facing smart rings today is balancing advanced functionality with a tiny physical size. Apple reportedly continues to invest heavily in ultra-efficient microchips and advanced battery systems to solve this exact problem. These advanced components are fully capable of delivering long battery life in extremely compact devices. Recent breakthroughs in low-power processors, sensor efficiency, and new battery materials strongly suggest that wearable tech is finally becoming small enough to fit into a standard ring without sacrificing daily performance. Competition in the smart ring market is already heating up significantly, with proven companies like Aura and Samsung already demonstrating growing consumer interest in ring-based health tracking. The market success of these products has proven that customers are completely willing to wear smart rings and integrate them into their daily routines. However, Apple possesses one massive advantage that its competitors simply cannot duplicate easily, and that is deep ecosystem integration. The company's unique ability to connect hardware, software, paid services, and advanced AI into a single unified experience could allow the Apple Ring to stand out immediately. Pricing remains one of the biggest unanswered questions surrounding this rumored device. Apple products generally target the premium segment of the technology market, and analysts fully expect the Apple Ring to follow this exact same strategy. Depending on the final sensors included, the build materials, and the tracking capabilities, estimates suggest the pricing could range from several $100s to potentially higher for luxury versions featuring premium finishes. Yet many loyal consumers may consider the investment completely worthwhile if the ring delivers highly unique health insights and seamless ecosystem functionality. The biggest question that remains is very simple. When will Apple finally unveil the Apple Ring to the public? While no official launch date exists right now, industry reports suggest that the underlying technologies required for such a product are maturing rapidly. As Apple continues to expand its corporate focus on personal health, artificial intelligence, wearable computing, and spatial technology, the arrival of a smart ring appears increasingly realistic with each passing year. Now let us talk about Siri right now on the current HomePod Mini, because to put it nicely, it is just okay. It can handle basic timers, it can play your favorite playlist, and it can tell you the weather or turn off your living room lights. It acts like a very polite assistant, but it is an assistant that is completely terrified of doing anything complicated. The exact moment you go slightly off script, the whole system just collapses. It gets confused and gives you an answer that has absolutely nothing to do with what you actually asked. Even worse, if you ask a simple follow-up question, it completely forgets what you were just talking about, acting like you just started a brand new conversation in a totally different universe. It has no memory and no context. This exact frustration is why Apple is investing so heavily in their new AI version. They want a Siri that actually understands context, remembers your previous sentence, and pulls information across your different apps instead of just responding to single isolated commands. But a smart assistant like that only works if the hardware inside the speaker can actually handle it. This is where the next HomePod Mini gets incredibly interesting. Major leaks suggest that Apple is finally abandoning the ancient S5 chip and moving to something much more modern like the S9 chip or even newer. On paper, that might just sound like a standard tech spec bump, but in reality, it is a massive generational jump. You are moving from an old watch-era chipset to a modern processor with a massive neural engine. That neural engine is exactly what Apple Intelligence relies on for on-device processing. So when Apple says they are waiting for Siri, it is not just a software delay. They are making sure the hardware can handle the AI locally so your requests do not feel sluggish, and the speaker does not rely on the cloud for every single syllable you speak. There is also a lot of talk about a brand new N1 chipset making its way into the device. This little chip brings huge upgrades like Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 6, and much better thread support. Now that might sound like boring networking jargon, but in real life, it means your smart home finally stops feeling like it is constantly buffering. It means much faster response times, fewer delays when you shout across the room for your lights to turn off, and a highly stable connection even when you have dozens of smart devices running in your house at the exact same time. If you have ever experienced a HomePod Mini randomly lagging when you try to turn off a lamp, you know exactly why this specific upgrade matters so much. We can also expect the sound quality to get a little bit better. No one is expecting a giant dramatic leap in audio performance since there are limits to what physics can do in that size. But you can look forward to better overall tuning, much clearer vocals, and a bit more depth in the bass to make the music experience feel fresh again. Design-wise, do not expect anything crazy. Apple seems completely set on sticking with the same little mesh sphere because the current design already fits beautifully into almost any room without drawing too much attention to itself. However, we might see one fun change in the color lineup. Leaks have specifically mentioned a new red version. This is interesting because Apple recently stopped working with Product Red to create their red electronics. This new speaker could be the very first independent red product from Apple, throwing in one bright fun color to make the launch feel like a big refresh, without actually changing the physical shape of the hardware. When you step back, you realize this massive delay reflects Apple's broader smart home strategy. The HomePod Mini is not waiting in isolation. The next Apple TV 4K is also completely ready and sitting on the exact same shelf for the exact same reason. Even the heavily rumored smart home hub with a screen is trapped in this exact same situation. You have an entire ecosystem of home devices essentially paused, all waiting for Siri to finally catch up. Apple's approach here feels very all or nothing. They absolutely do not want to release a hardware update that is held back by old software limitations, because it makes the entire upgrade feel pointless to the average consumer. To be completely fair to them, they have been burned by this exact mistake before with Apple Intelligence on the iPhone. So this time around, they want perfect software ready first, and then they will align the hardware release perfectly alongside it. The risk of this strategy is incredibly obvious though. If the new Siri does not actually land as good as Apple is promising, then all of this agonizing waiting suddenly feels completely unnecessary. In my opinion, this delay is actually the smartest move Apple could make. The smart home market is cluttered with half-baked gadgets that frustrate users, and by waiting to perfect on-device AI with the S9 and N1 chips, Apple is ensuring that the next HomePod Mini is a flawless, instantaneous hub rather than a frustrating toy. As for the Apple Ring, it represents the ultimate future of technology because it moves us away from screens and into a world where digital interaction is completely invisible and intuitive. If you like the video, subscribe, share the video, and hit the bell icon.